Hey kids, hop in. I've got candy and video games. We're taking a trip to Segaland, and I'd better not hear any crying. We're playing Fighting Vipers. It's the year 1995, and mankind has only recently invented the third dimension. 3D animation with jiggle physics and well-hung Overwatch characters was decades away, and we had to make do with Dot's mono-tit. Things were basic. Really basic. But sometimes, simplicity is a blessing in disguise. Virtua Fighter did not invent the wheel in this situation, but it did lay out the blueprints for the subgenre, and is still a great series even if it has fallen off in popularity. Most of this can be blamed on blandness, with characters that felt dated even on arrival. This was the decade of edginess. Flashier and more violent games were stealing the spotlight, and Sega needed something a little less safe, leading to Fighting Vipers, the most 90s looking game of them all. Playing like the love child of Virtua Fighter and DOA, it holds up surprisingly well, with fast movements and animation along with a decent combo system. Their game has ring outs, while our game has breakable walls. Their game has busty anime girls, while our game lets you knock their tops off. And if their game has realistic weapon play, our game can have a kid with a skateboard. The de facto mascot of the series, Candy, is who we'll be running as this go-round. She puts the butt in button mashing, and I am 99% sure her alt color palette served as inspiration for the character Rainbow Mika, which is kinda cool since she's my main in Street Fighter V. She even appears in Sonic Fighters as Honey the Cat, keeping her real name in all versions. However, I'm going to refer to her as Candy since we are playing the US release, which is somewhat ironic considering the copy I actually own is the Japanese version. Up first is Jojo Mishima. Bon is a bit of a Kazuya with those uppercuts, and is technically the main character, but I was there, and I do not recall him showing up in any of the pervy fan art. It's stage 1, so as always, the game is going to give me just enough leeway to figure things out. Built off Virtua Fighter, it adds a dedicated grab button, along with heavy charge attacks with forward momentum, along with step-back counters, that will feel very familiar to DOA players. Candy's go-to special is that butt smash, not just because I'm immature, but because it's legitimately a great charge-in that can be done from a standstill to catch players you've launched on their way down. And it is just one of her attacks that will also show up 3 years later in Rainbow Mika's set. Unable to resist the power of Candy's curves, Bon goes down, and so would I, but there's no time for that. On to the next match. Former model turned figure skater turned inline skater, it's Grace, who's probably the most outdated character in the roster, which is ironic because her rollerblades are the thing that convinced dumb kid me to always play as her, as I was a proud fruit booter myself. Part of her appeal, besides those thick polygonal thighs, was probably her ease of use. Playing very similar to Sarah from Virtua Fighter, she is an ideal first choice for any player familiar with that series, and was one of the 2 characters I saw being used most in arcades at the time. The breakable and underlayer of her armor both come from different sponsors, which is a tiny world-building detail I've always loved and try to include in personal projects. Up next is Tony Hawk Pro Skater, the number 2 most 90s character in this game and probably the number 2 most played back in the day, though I haven't a clue why. I'm gonna guess it's that skateboard head bash or his overall trollish moveset, which makes him a bit more interesting than the others. Joining the tournament to impress his girlfriend, he actually drops the simping and breaks up with her in the sequel, choosing to go after Candy, having discovered he's into older women. Oh no, here comes Tokyo, who is probably one of the most boring characters in the roster, which is weird when you realize his outfit is supposed to be based off something Michael Jackson wore at some point somewhere. Even more bland and forgettable is his backstory, the gang member who wants to fight because he likes to fight. Nothing to really say about this guy except hard pass. His kicks can be pretty deadly, even having a weird ground tatsu like Sakura, but other than that he's just too boring for me to care about.
Sega toe jam and Earl. The hip and hopping party that's kicking around the world.
Enter Sandman, and for the longest time I thought this guy was some 40 to 50-year-old biker. Turns out, he's supposed to be a teenager, and that fat hog of his is really a 50cc scooter. So, saddest character of the game award is going to this guy. Similar to Picky, he's also crushing on Candy, and even worse, he uses her own butt slam against her in battle. Swinging wild and aggressively, he's surprisingly fast for his size, but can't take a hit, especially from charge attacks. Mirror match, Cherry Candy versus Miku Candy. I'm not going to beat a dead horse over this. Anyone with eyes can see why I brought it up, and anyone who's familiar with Capcom's history understands why I'm making the implication in the first place. Honey Candy is an aspiring 16-year-old fashion designer. My bad. Relax. She's 18 in the sequel, and if they made a part 3, she'd be 45, and would probably have several kids. She's also really into rubber and latex, and would have been a pioneer in the early years of the Gothic Lolita fashion scene. Coming live to the stage, it's Raxel Rose, lead singer of Death Crunch, a garage band that plays free shows for the people waiting in line outside of the strip club where the slightly less terrible garage bands play. Running away from his daddy issues, he's entered the tournament in order to get his band some notoriety, while also handing out his demo CD, which will most likely end up in trash bins. Also, he's a vegan, so fuck this guy. It's the semi-finals, and apparently we're up against Vasquez.
Hey Vasquez, have you ever been mistaken for a man?
No. Have you?
All the time, and I don't understand why people are confused. Jane has anger issues, and she's here to take them out on someone. Once aspiring to serve on the front lines as a Marine, she was deemed too mentally unfit for those guys, so she now works subway construction while powerlifting on the side, and is just waiting for someone to even look at her the wrong way. Unlike Capcom, Sega is proud of what inspires them, and the team has fully gone on record about this character being a tribute to her doppelganger from Alien. On to the final boss, the sinister BM. Do not laugh, we are more mature than that. Emperor Bowel Movement is the mayor of the city and also the one behind the tournament, which he refers to as the Nutcracker, referencing his plans to 1v1 the gang members, to solve crime. He may look like King, however, instead of throws, it's those combos you have to watch out for. BM has raw strength, but we have that booty slam. I'm sorry, you wanted an ending? That's not in the budget, though you do get to see one or two pre-renders of some sweet 90s era CG. That does indeed suck, but there are still one or two little bonuses. Remember Honey the Cat? Well, her appearance is more than just an Easter egg. Sonic Fighters started out as a joke that staff members built in-engine, and he's even playable if you know how to mess with the code. Maybe you want a more legit way to play these characters in the same game. Well, Fighters Megamix also has characters from Sonic and Fighting Vipers, and even a Daytona car, cause it's cool like that. And now you're thinking, that may be cool, but it's hot out. How can I quench my thirst this summer? Worry not, because Pepsi Man is also in this game, for some fucking reason. That playthrough was a lot more fun than I was expecting. Vipers being a pure arcade game you only pick up for a few rounds and not much else. But sitting down to actually complete the game was really fast even if you don't know the character. Everyone is a bit samey, so if you understand the timing, you can competently play as anyone, and they all have those easy DOA combos. I wasn't able to pull off any long strings, but I think it's more about combining 3 and 4 hitters than memorizing longer commands. If you are into games like Bloody Roar or DOA, this one should be on your list. It has aged like fine wine, which is rare with how many duds came from this time period. There's also a sequel, however that's going to be its own video. It's technically for one console generation later, and I assume that's going to come with a much different feel to the playstyle. As always, thank you to everyone who got adoptables this week, and happy 4th to everyone celebrating. I will catch you in the next one, and please do your best to practice safe firework handling, as not to blow off one's genitals.